Hi, I'm Brian Shul, the owner of Gallery 1, in which we are standing. I'd like to welcome you today, show you a little bit about what we do here and what we're all about. I spent 20 years in the United States Air Force as a fighter pilot. As you can see behind me here, the SR-71, the world's fastest jet. I was very lucky at the end of my career to get to fly this airplane. I'd like to share with you today a little bit about my love of photography and what I did in the Air Force that led me today to be the nature photographer that I am. I was very enamored with jets for many years and as a young child, and got to live my dream 20 years in the cockpit, flying the world's fastest jet at the end of my career. I also had a love for photography as I was flying jets, and a love for photographing aircraft in flight and on the ground and everything. And it's just this love and hobby just kind of led to a real fascination with getting better with photography as I had more opportunities to take pictures of some very interesting aircraft, such as, again, the SR-71. What I did was parlay my interest in this type of photography into a couple of books that I was able to write when I retired about the SR-71, which are still very popular to this day. And when I got out of the Air Force and retired in 1990, I thought I might want to be an aviation photojournalist. I loved photography, I loved flying, I loved airplanes. And I did two books, one on the Thunderbirds, one on the Blue Angels. I actually got to fly with both teams. I'm the only man in America that's flown with both teams extensively to do two books. So I did 4 books right after I got out of the Air Force, all with my own photography. A gallery is kind of eclectic in that it's a combination of aviation and bird photography, but the main theme, I guess, is flight. We will have our books available here for people that want to come in and have one signed or purchase one. The Sled Driver book has been around for a long time, but is still to this day the most unique and only book of its kind on the jet. All of the photographs in the book are my own photography that I had to get special permission over a 7-year period when I was actually in the program to do these. They're old Kodachrome slides back when I was first learning how to use them and shoot. I really wasn't that great of a photographer back then, but you know, it's a labor of love to just put this together and then write in a very non-technical way. Here's what it was like to fly the world's fastest jet. Here's what it looked like. I guess for me, the fun of doing books in whether it's aviation or my bird photography, it's to tell people that the world all around you is a lot more amazing than you really think if you just stop to really observe it. And sometimes through books or writing, you can actually give people a glimpse of a world that they might not otherwise ever get to see. Not everybody's going to get to fly fighter jets, but you can walk out your backyard and see the greatest flyers and the greatest air show on Earth in hawks or harriers or birds out there that are just doing something every day that we take for granted. That's really a free air show out there every day. So for people who like nature and have patience and want to stand out there, I see a lot of Audubon people with their scopes out there just observing the birds. You don't have to photograph them, you can just observe their flight habits out there. But I was fortunate enough to live my dream and fly airplanes in the Air Force. And I'm very happy that I did these books to give people, keep the memory of this jet alive that's all retired now and in museums, and have this rare collection of photographs of an airplane that is now gone. We can never get these kind of pictures again of this magnificent airplane. It's kind of how I feel about the hawks or eagles. You know, when I'm When I'm shooting pictures of the birds, I always think, gosh, someday, you know, I hope these birds will always be around. And I know a lot of the areas that we have a lot of refuge in this country. Take advantage of them, get out there and use them. And say all you have to do is walk out your back door. You'll be amazed. There's an air show going on daily that's more magnificent than any man-made airplane ever. Now you might say, well, you probably should have, why not pursue a career in aviation photography? I had done pretty much everything I wanted to do in that realm, basically. The world's fastest jet, Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels. And the internet was so full of millions of pictures of airplanes and everything, it didn't seem all that unique that you could just come up with great airplane images and they were going to be anything unique. But my fascination for flight and my love for the outdoors and nature and being a big hiker and everything, I became very enamored with the birds. And the more I observed birds in flight, especially the Raptors, which I considered the fighter pilots of the bird world, I found that they were the real flyers. Man doesn't really fly. We build machines that fly and we sit in them. And I at least got to share the same view that birds have when I was in the cockpit. But when you actually watch birds fly, and again, especially the Raptors in their attack mode and their many capabilities of maneuverability and just their habits, and you really observe them for many hours, you gain a very deep appreciation for their capabilities, and they truly are the real flyers. So I kind of gravitated towards my love of aviation, flight, my love for nature and photography kind of led me to now be basically a bird photographer. I spend many hours out in nature, out in the wilderness, waiting, watching, patiently, hoping to get some sort of action shot. The birds aren't very cooperative. They aren't there to pose for you. So it's not for everybody. You have to really want to be out there and watching what they're doing. So people always ask me, how'd you go from being a jet pilot to a bird photographer? And it was just a natural transition for me with my love of the outdoors, photography, and flight. That's where I am today, and what I wanted to do with this gallery was make a place where people could come and just appreciate and enjoy the work and see the work from my aviation stuff to my nature stuff today. Well, I was lucky enough, and I say lucky enough, to grow up on military bases. My dad was in the Marine Corps for 32 years. So I grew up with kind of a military background of existence. I didn't know what life was like in the regular civilian community for most of my life, growing up on Marine bases. But my life did change radically one day when my dad took me to my first big air show at Andrews Air Force Base. And I saw those jets, and the Thunderbirds and Blue Angels both were there. This was back in the 50s when they did really, really big air shows. And I remember it just sort of changed my whole life. It was like the sound of those jets and the 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid, it was life-changing. It reached in and gripped my very soul, and I knew I wanted to fly jets. And as when I got around jets, I knew that I really wanted to preserve the memory of it. And I guess that's how I first picked up a camera. I had no training or anything. It was just a natural love. And I've always found in life, as I said before, if you have a deep passion for what you do and you love what you do, you'll probably learn how to do it because you're going to spend the time learning it. And always do things you love, I believe, in life. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. Do things you have a passion for, whatever it is. So I've been I've been really lucky in life to do things I have loved doing and had a passion for, and I'm still doing that today. And I think this gallery has been a labor of love for the last 15 years, and in another year we really hope to have it finished. And just let people share in the work, and we don't care if we sell one thing, it's okay. It's not what it's for. We have sold several prints already, but it's just to help people see what's out there that we often miss right in front of us. We always think we have to go everywhere across the world to see things when it's right in front of us. My aviation books have kind of helped fund the entire gallery. We bought this building, and for the last 15 years have been renovating it, putting it together, and it's been quite a process. And if you'd like, I'll take you into the gallery now a little bit, show you about some of the stuff that we're doing here. It's kind of an interactive gallery from aviation to the real flyers here, the birds. These prints represent over 10 years of being out patiently waiting for the birds to do something that makes them photographic to my camera. I like all kinds of birds. What I found was that from everything I've learned about flying and flight, when you watch birds, even just a simple snow goose that you would normally not think is all that photogenic, you see the many intricate maneuver or positions of the feathers and wing tips. They're doing all the same things we do in airplanes, except way better and with much more control and with much more ability to maneuver, because they can change the shape of their wings or just change one shape of one wing. I think we take birds for granted. We just sort of see them. We don't really think a lot. What I'd like to do in my photography is show people the birds in a way that you normally wouldn't see them. We have a bald eagle here, for example. A lot of people have seen bald eagles, but when you really stop to get the detail and see the number of feathers they have and how they manipulate those feathers in flight, and just the majesty of their look on their face, they're just fascinating creatures to me. And I think that when people, hopefully when they come to the gallery and they see birds that they would normally see, such as a hawk or a harrier, or even like say a snow goose, they'll see it in a different way and appreciate a little more the magnificence of what birds really are and what they really can do. Over on this wall we have an osprey. This is our largest size print that we do. It's an 8-foot print, and this is an osprey in Florida. And again, these are all pretty sturdy metal prints, and can't hardly hurt them. My big theme, and I'm working on a book now about the raptors, hawks, harriers, and kestrels. My big theme is that these are all birds that you see every day. Birds that you can walk out your backyard and see flying and you would not think a lot about, but that I want to bring to your more immediate attention in a book, to show it to you in more detail, talk about them in more detail about their habits, their life, how they hunt and what they do, so that people can gain a greater appreciation for what they can see every day. You don't have to go to some exotic country to view these birds. You don't have to go to Africa or South America or Southeast Asia to find these birds. They're in your backyard. People don't realize how many types of birds are actually in their area. This, for example, is a ferruginous hawk, one that you will see if you're out there watching. Most people spend 10 minutes looking at the birds. I might spend 10 years out there observing them. And again, you have to like being out in nature. But it's a wonderful hobby. You don't have to buy $1 million equipment and everything. You do want to have a good camera and a good lens. To do birds, frankly, it does take a telephoto lens. They're not going to come close to you. You're going to have to invest in a pretty long piece of glass. But it's been fun, and I always say do things in life you have a passion for and that are fun, because then you'll probably get good at them because you'll put the time in. I really love doing, like flying with the Blue Angels for a whole year, doing my book and everything. But I've had opportunities too that I never even knew about when I got out of the Air Force. For example, like the local arts council. They're not just about paintings and artwork and everything. They support local photographers. There's programs, there's scholarships, there's sharing websites, things. So I found there's a whole nother world open to especially veterans that you can get into that I think are wonderful, and I've certainly been privileged to be a part of those programs in my own local community that I never even knew about. So it's about sharing, and now with the internet world, we can share so much quicker and easier all our work and other people's work. There's no excuse for not learning anymore. It's all out there. So I've been very happy to be a part of this veterans program we're making here today. And if, like I say, anyone has any questions or further thought, they can contact me anytime. I'd be happy to talk with them.